All right, folks, what is going on? This is episode 302 of the First and Frame Rate Show. I am VF Baller, and got a pretty interesting topic I want to talk about today. A little bit more upbeat from yesterday. You know, the whole situation with Calvin Ridley, and you know that's just crazy. And not much Georgia Southern football talk, but I do have a quick announcement about Georgia Southern. Well, my actions pertaining to Georgia Southern very soon. So I'll talk about that in a second, but I thank you guys once again for the support. You guys are amazing. I really appreciate it. Uptick in viewership, uptick in listenership. It's all because of you guys. I really appreciate it. If this is your first time here, welcome. Everybody, if you don't mind, hit the like, share, and subscribe and to any of these platforms. And if you want to listen to this platform, I'm on Anchor, Stitcher, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. And if you're listening, if you're watching this on the visual side, I'm also on Rumble and YouTube. So you can check all those things out. Also, if you want to donate, you can hit the links down in the description. Totally optional, but it goes a long way. It really, really helps. So I really appreciate it if you decide to. All right. Before I get into the topic at hand, we're going to talk about AJ Terrell and Ahmad Gardner. And I'm going to give you my opinion about these two guys. Obviously, if you see the title or if you see the ticker at the bottom of the screen, if you're watching this on the visual platforms, you already know where I'm going at with this. But before I get into that, April 23rd at noon is the blue and white game for Georgia Southern football. I will be there. If you guys want to see me in person or whatever the case may be, we could talk football. I will be there at Paulson Stadium. I don't know where, and obviously don't know where I'll be sitting at or whatever the case may be, but I really want to be there, and I want to meet a lot of you guys because I know some people in the Twitter world, we interact all the time. People that are out here that listens to the podcast, you guys also interact as well. So seeing you guys in person will be great. I think that'll be awesome. So I will be at the spring game, the blue and white game, April 23rd. And I will continue to talk about this so in case if anybody forgets. And we can, talk football and talk about all the changes of the Georgia Southern football team in person. So I think that's going to be awesome. All right, let's go ahead and get into this. AJ Terrell needs another person on the other side of the field to help him out in the secondary. I'm pretty much sold at this point that this is the move at number 8. I thought about this for a while, and I know everybody's talking about pass rush. Some people are now talking about receiver because of, the whole Calvin Ridley situation. But I feel that Ahmad Gardner, Sauce Gardner, that's what they call him, I think he's the move at number 8. If he's available, this is the guy to pick up. Now, let's go ahead. Before I even get into all of this, I'm going to give you a quick rundown how I feel about the pass rush and the picks that are available at pass rush, or the players that are available. I don't see anybody that's a top 10 talent personally. I think they're top 10 in this draft, but I don't think they're top 10 style of player when it comes to pass rush. I don't see nobody that stands out, that give me those type of stats that say, okay, this guy's going to be a difference maker. I just don't see. I think a lot of guys are just solid. I think a lot of these guys are just going to be good, but I don't think any of these guys are like must have, gotta pick up, these can't miss guys. I don't see that. I mean, Hutchinson, I don't see. I think Hutchinson's overrated personally. Thibodeau is pretty good. I'm not going to knock that. And a few other ones that I talked about, they don't even cross my mind anymore. I talked about them in previous podcasts. They don't even cross my mind anymore. Now, I've always looked at Ahmad Gardner. I've always been looking at him throughout, this entire season because, his name kind of popped out before. And I was just wondering, a guy from Cincinnati is playing so well. Is he playing against top talent, or what is he doing against, mediocre talent? Is he consistent? Now, one thing I can say about him, that he has not given up a touchdown in almost 2 years. I think the last time he gave up a touchdown was like 2019. Now, albeit in 2020, I think it was somewhat of a shortened season. He played 9 games. and he didn't give up a touchdown then. As a matter of fact, he had 3 interceptions as well as like he did in 2021. So I really like what this kid can do. I think he's you can't miss on this guy. I really feel that with him and AJ Terrell together is the duo that we need. This is the guys that will change the game in the passing game for the Atlanta Falcons. Now, yes, I know we need pass rush. Yes, I know we may need some other players around, the team. Around the team. I feel like we need those, but I just don't see where this type of caliber player at his position, I don't see that nowhere else in the draft, period. I'm not saying he's the best player in the draft, but I feel like for what we need, there's an argument for it, but I feel like he'll be the biggest help in for this team. Now, like I said, you got some pass rushers out here that'll probably help immediately, but I don't think they'll be the caliber of Gardner. Now, I'm not, like I said, I can't say that he's the best player of the draft because I don't know who really is the best player in this draft. I think this draft is kind of like it's kind of sporadic. It's a little bit all over the place. You got situations where you got, we're talking about Malik Willis, and we're talking about the quarterback from Pitt, then we got a couple of quarterbacks, one the guy from Ole Miss, and then those guys are they're not the guys that say you can't miss. I don't see can't miss on those guys. And, people in the Falcons fan base talking about quarterbacks, but I don't see a can't miss guy at number 8 for quarterbacks. Receivers, I talked about Drake London. He could be one of those guys, but I'm just looking at the production that he had before he went down to the injury. I mean, he was, on his way. But I don't see it. So I'm not really sure how that's going to play out for overall. Also, I'm not sure with the pass rush. Like when I look at the guy that's a top 10 and they're not a need, I think he's a need. I think pass rush is obviously a need, but I don't see like a guy that stands out like a Nick Bosa, Joey Bosa, or a Chase Young with the pass rush. I think these guys are really good, but I think there's going to be a bunch of solid guys. So I'm looking at that situation like at number 8, I don't know. But when I look at Gardner, honestly, even though he played at Cincinnati, quote unquote inferior competition, this guy's done something that, that's really good no matter what. I mean, very, very good no matter what the competition is there. He hasn't given up a little bit of anything. You know what I mean? I mean, he had 40 tackles, 5 for loss, 3 interceptions this season. They don't even throw the ball his way for the most part. And you look at AJ Terrell, I'm looking at his game logs as well. He pretty much have like the same type of, production. Just on the NFL, do you realize AJ Terrell only gave up at the most in a game was 45 yards? That was to Robbie Anderson for Carolina. 45. He hasn't given up 50 yards a game at all this season. You know what I'm saying? So that's the type of stuff I'm talking about. He hasn't allowed yards against Antonio Brown, Terry McLaurin. When you look at a guy like, I'm trying to think who else. Brandon Ayuk, 36 yards. Stephon Diggs, 24 yards. So when you got a guy like this and you turn right back around and you got somebody like Ahmad Gardner who's potentially could do well in as a cornerback. I mean, I love this duo. I feel like you can get a pass rush later. That's how I feel, but I think that Gardner is a can't miss guy, and I've gotten to the point now that I'm sticking with this. This is the guy I want to see the Falcons pick at number 8. I know I talked about Drake London because I love his size. I never was really big on any of the guys that were pass rushers. I never was. So it was either Drake London or Ahmad Gardner. Now I'm sold on him. I think AJ Terrell and Ahmad Gardner will be a really good duo, not only in the NFC South, but in the NFC in general. I mean, you look at the quarterback playing in the NFC right now. I mean, you got Aaron Rodgers, you got Matt Ryan, Dak Prescott, and maybe Kirk Cousins. And then there's a drop off from there. And it's really a drop off after you get, Aaron Rodgers and Matt Ryan. Because Dak Prescott, what can you say? Dak Prescott is solid. I don't think he's elite. I think Matt Ryan's better. But I'm biased, but I firmly do believe it. But I think at number 8, you gotta get. I think this is the move. I know how much we need pass rush, but I don't see anybody. Like I said once again, I don't see anybody that's there to get like a top 10 style pick or top 10 pick style player when it comes to the pass rush or edge rusher. And we got plenty of them in this draft. I think we can get a solid one in the second round, but. I talked about Stingley in another episode, but Stingley is not as good as this guy. So I feel like this is the move. I don't know what else to really, contemplate when I think about other players. Maybe offensive line, but I don't see any offensive lineman that's there to really, pick up. Evan Neal is probably going to be gone. Jacksonville's probably going to pick him number 1. He's probably going to pick him up number 1. Is it a possibility that the Falcons trade back? And I think that if you don't pick Gardner, I think you should just go ahead and trade back. Because like I said, it may be Thibodeau out of Oregon, maybe him, and maybe Drake London. And I like Drake London a lot. I think those are the 3, but that's like 1 is Gardner, 2 is Thibodeau, 3 is Drake London. Because we do need help on all 3 of those phases. But I feel like with the shutdown capabilities of Gardner, I don't think anybody's going to pass the ball on us. He may have a rough season year 1. A.J. Terrell so was kind of rough, but this year, 2021, he was lights out. He was lights out. So I don't see where. I just don't see where it is not. I don't think it's even viable at this point. To pass on the Gardner, I don't think it's viable. I'm 100 with this one. I'm good on this one. AJ Terrell also. Let's see. Because he's 2021. He had 3 interceptions. He had 1 in his rookie year. 3. And you got to understand, his first year doesn't, I ain't going to say it don't count, but his first year, he didn't even have any training or OTAs or practice. It was a COVID year. He just went in and played cold turkey. He played cold turkey, and the change or the improvement from first year to the second is like awesome. 1 interception to 3. Pass defendant went from 7 to 16. He had 3 forced fumbles in 2020, which is awesome. But he had 1 last season. He had 1 sack. So he has improved. And I think he'll continue to improve. He's one of the bright spots on the Falcons. And you bring another guy on the other side of the field. Because who we got on the other side of the field right now for the Falcons? I don't see anybody else that we have. So when you bring somebody like Gardner in, now you're talking about, okay, we can't not worry about throwing to the other side of the field because the other side of the field may have a guy that can play some ball. And he's going to go through his growing pains. He's going to go through them. A.J. Terrell did. Almost any cornerback goes through their growing pains. And I really feel A.J. Terrell went through his growing pains in that national championship game against Jamar Chase and them. And I understand that. Nobody was beating that team that year. Even my Georgia Southern Eagles went to Death Valley and got whooped. So, nobody was beating that Joe Burrow team that year. That just was not happening. But he redeemed himself. Everybody thought he was going to be a terrible pick or whatever the case may be. And look at him now, second year. He lights out. I said lights out. I'm going to have the link in the description for anybody who wants to look at any of these references that I'm looking at as far as numbers. I'm going to go down each week once again for you guys to know what A.J. Terrell did, and I'm going to go down a week for Ahmad Gardner. Week 1, A.J. Terrell against Philly, 0 yards allowed, 0 pass breakups. He had 72% of the snaps against Devontae Smith. Antonio Brown, 58% of the coverage, 58% of the snaps against Antonio Brown. 0 yards allowed, 2 pass breakups. Terry McLaurin, 89%, 0 allowed, 0 pass breakups. Corey Davis against the Jets, 83% of the share snap, 6 yards allowed, 0 breakups. Preston Williams against Miami, 66% of the time. He actually gave up he gave up 2 receptions, but it was only for 14 yards, 1 pass breakup. DJ Moore, 93% of the time he was on DJ Moore. 2 catches for 22 yards, 0 pass breakups. Traquan Smith, 90% of the time. 2 targets for 2 receptions allowed for 19 yards, 2 pass breakups. Michael Gallup, 50% of the time, so half the game he was on him. 2 receptions allowed, 19 yards. Nelson Aguilar, 84%. 3 catches, 13 yards, 1 pass breakup. Laquan Treadwell, 84% again. 2 targets, 14 yards, 1 pass breakup. Brashard Perriman for Tampa Bay, 94% of the time he was on him. 2 targets, 42 yards, 1 pass breakup. You got to understand, 94% of the time of the snap share that he was on him, that means that they even took their receivers and took him away. They took him away. That's crazy. Robbie Anderson, 96%, 4 targets, 45 yards, 3 pass breakups. Brandon Ayuk, which I find this impressive because Brandon Ayuk is actually pretty good. Not to take away from anybody else. Brandon Ayuk, 1 catch out of 5 targets for 36 yards. So he had that 1 big catch, which that's not good, but okay. That's probably like the worst situation right there. Even though he had 5 targets, he had 36 yards on that 1 catch, 1 big play. Khalif Raymond against Detroit, 1 catch, 8 yards, 1 pass breakup. Stephon Diggs against Buffalo probably was his best game, in my opinion, because he had a interception in that game. He had an interception in a couple of these games, but I think he played very well against Stephon Diggs. 3 catches, 24 yards, 2 pass breakups. Traquan Smith in the last game of the season, 2 catches, 18 yards, 1 pass breakup. So I think he did very well. Now you look at Ahmad Gardner, he doesn't have any targets or anything, but I'll tell you what he did against each team. Against Cincinnati, he didn't give up, 3 tackles, 1 assisted. No interceptions, no interceptions, no pass defended. Another tackle in the Cincinnati game. Another tackle. He had 1 pass breakup against Indiana. His best game was probably the Notre Dame game. He had he had 2 total tackles, 1 interception, and 1 pass defended. The rest of these games, he had 2 tackles, 6 tackles, 3 tackles, 1, 3, 5, 1, 8 tackles against East Carolina. And he had 2 pass breakups. He also had an interception in a South Florida game. He had 1 tackle for a loss in a Tulsa, in the South Florida game, and the Alabama game. But he didn't give up any touchdowns. I don't see any of them here. But as I'm saying, these 2 guys together could be really good together. I think this is something that needs to happen. I'm sold on this. I am sold on these 2 guys together, and I think that's what needs to happen. That's pretty much what I'm gonna. That's pretty much what I'm gonna say. That's pretty much what it is for this episode. I don't have much else to say. If you like this content, let me know. What are your thoughts and opinions? Do you think I'm tripping? Do you think I don't know what I'm talking about? You got to understand, these guys did very well in their respective positions. And I think if both of them play together, there's going to be very hard to, get anywhere down the field. I mean, we were 31 in pass defense. So I think that would be the move. If Richie Grant could step up, then now you got 3/4 of your secondary, solidified. 3/4 of your secondary solidified. Then you can find a diamond in the rough for a free safety later, or you can get one in free agency. I don't know how you do it, but I think it will start with getting Ahmad Gardner. It will start that way. It will start with that. So I don't know what else to say. What do you guys think? Pass rush. You think we should still go pass rush? What do you think? You think we should still, possibly go receiver just for a wild card? Do you think we should go quarterback? Because I already told you how I felt about the running back situation. Offensive line. The offensive line got better. It got better. So I'm not really sold on picking the offensive lineman early. Because they did get better. Shout out Jalen Mayfield. What a rough start of the season, but he finished pretty strong. But I think we're gonna be okay on the line. But what about this pass rush or what? I like I said, I think we should get Gardner. I think Gardner's the move. Sorry, y'all. Let me know what you guys think. If you guys like this content, hit the like button, share this video or share this podcast, subscribe to your podcast avenue or the video format, whether you like to listen on YouTube or Rumble. Every morning, 9 a.m., I try to put these podcasts up for you guys. Let me know what you guys think. Give me a 5-star rating on that star chart. Let me know what you guys think. I could be also whatever platform you want to listen to, Anchor, Stitcher, Spotify, Apple, or Google Podcasts. I'm right there. YouTube and Rumble, you can check me out on those 2 platforms as well. I'm going to get out of here. If you feel like you want to donate, that'll be great. It's all appreciated. Even if you're just listening and that's all you can do, I appreciate that as well. Just thank you guys for the support. You guys are great. I'm out of here. You guys take it easy. You guys be blessed. Peace.